Festac Festival 2025.
Africans are ready.
Welcome to Africa Show.
Africans are ready.
Welcome to Festac.
Africans are ready.
Welcome to Festac.
Africans are ready.
Welcome to Festac.
Oh, Mama Africa, Festac Africa. Oh, 2025. Festac Africa.
From the 21st to the 27th of September 2025, the world will gather under one sky celebrating what unites us. Our culture, our heritage, our pride. Welcome to Festac Africa Festival 2025, a 7-day explosion of colors, rhythm, fashion, food and unity right at the Independence Square. Featuring daily cultural performances, movie screenings, 6 days of exhibition, 3 days of transformational conferences, Ghana versus Nigerian Jollof Rice Showdown, Kids Fun Fair, Wellness, Sports and Tree Planting, Teaching and Innovation, and the Pan-African Trade Market where every country is invited. Festac Africa Festival is not just an event. It's a festival of impacting inclusion and changing lives. Powered by Ghana Tourism Authority, this is your moment to stand tall, collect globally, and showcase the spirit of Africa. Register today at www.festacafrica.org. Africa is ready. Ghana is ready. Accra is ready. Chale, are you ready? If you don't get it, forget about it.
Festac Africa.
Yes, it's that time when we sit and talk to the great ones. Depending on where you are, I greet you. Dayo dayo. Nusiemi betwa bombote bana bayisolele. Molweni abantwana abangoni. Mpo salama watoto wa Mungu. Dumelang sawubona. Depending on where you are, yes, this is Africa and Africa is our business. And today we talk to OBAT Akech Masira, who is not just a theater giant, but a cultural visionary and somebody I like to call Kisumu's soul whisperer. Let us open for us, Obat, with one word or proverb that you go by.
Thank you very much. I think I've been involved in theater for a number of years. And actually, we have also been using theater to provoke the society to get consciousness. So basically, that is what I would say.
Thank you for that. What is the moment you realize that theater is your sacred path?
Well, I think I started this in my primary school days. So that was in the mid-60s. So we had a teacher who introduced us to theater. Those days we used to call it concert, but we used to do pantomime. Dick Whittington of London, the Solomon Mines. So we did quite a number of plays, and we had a teacher who was very, very creative in terms of changing the story into plays, which we did at Kisumu Union Primary School many years ago. Then the theater bug also hit me while in secondary school. I was also the secretary of the school's drama club, and we did quite a number of plays that were held. So in the 70s, in the late 70s, we used to have a lot of turmoil in terms of political assassination, many things. And we thought, and that also the time when there was Shaka Zulu massacre. So from Shaka Zulu, we started realizing that we could tell our stories differently to provoke the society. So in 1980, myself and some of my colleagues who also had the theater bags, we founded what was known as Ramogi Writers and Drama Society. This was a very powerful movement of young people using theater in a satirical ways to provoke the society. And that was the time of the regime of Moi. and we realized that we could be able to pass those messages in a very subtle way. So we most of our plays were based on apartheid in South Africa, but people could easily relate our production with the regime of Moi. And it was a trying moment because most of the CIDs would flock our theater, but they would not get the message. They could not pin us down, but the people could see, the people could easily relate the production and the Kenyan situation. So that has been a long journey, and the journey started in 1980. And within that period, we are also able to perform in different parts of the country. I became the first group to go and perform at the Goethe Institute in 1982 and 83. Then later, I was also part of the team that was selected to go to United States in 1983. Then I was in California. Then when I came back in 1984, I also got an opportunity to produce my first drama production in England. That was Birmingham. It was sponsored. We were invited by St. Philip's Project of Birmingham, supported by the Commonwealth Youth Exchange Program and the British Council. So we did a play called Shanti by Mthuli Shezi, a South African play that was able to depict the situation in South Africa in a very poignant way. And this play, we did it in Kisumu, and we also ended up staging it in England, Birmingham, in 1984.
Most obliged. And in your own words, how did studying film and theater at the UCLA transform your view on African storytelling?
Yes, that is the time also I met people like David. I met a number of people who really transformed our thinking, because now that was an international forum. And within that international forum, we were able to interact with different personalities. And you see, California is also the hub of African arts and culture, particularly Pan-Africanism. So it was a forum that enlightened us greatly. We were able to interact with different people. And at that time, we also used to picket at around Kenya had an embassy at Doheny Plaza, and opposite there was a South African embassy, and there was a lot of picketing, and we would go there and picket, and this gave us a number of opportunities. And at the UCLA there was Professor David Robadiri, whom I had been introduced to by Dr. Cheno Diabo, who used to, be part and parcel of our production. So from that, we got an international platform. This platform really created a forum for us to think critically about Africa, to think about Pan-Africanism, and how the role that theater could play to bring out the Black consciousness. And also at that time, there was also the Black consciousness in America, So we'd watch different productions, we'd interact with different people, That is also something that really gave us a platform, to enhance our creativity and to think beyond Kenya and Africa, and also to create a forum where we could link up with different voices, different personalities, but with one vision and mission, one Africa and a voice for Africa.
Thank you for that. And naturally, the Sons of Time have been gracious to you, and you drank from this cup of tea for quite a while. Now, compared to the 80s, when you were starting out with the Ramogi writers, the Misango Arts Ensemble, with the generations that you've seen pass under your tutelage, what are the struggles the transition of the struggle and the strengths in your eyes as compared to when you were starting with the political persecution and all that?
Yeah, I think there were also international organizations that were trying to create space for the creative space. I would say Goethe Institute played a critical role. Goethe Institute invited us to perform. Goethe Institute was also part and parcel of our trainings in Nairobi, both theatre and film. The British Council played a critical role in that kind of transformative change. They would give us funds to support and also to link us up to various organizations in England. Sometimes we used also to host exchange program. So basically, in the 80s, our vision and mission was, how do we use theater in a way that we can provoke the society, in a way that we could also create consciousness so that there could be that transformative change. And at that time, the kind of plays we used to do, most people would not touch. And we were also very sensitive in terms of how do we select our plays and how do we bring in other voices. So then in the 80s, 90s, the space was still not, but in the 90s now, a number of NGOs started coming in because of the pandemic, HIV/AIDS. So artists started getting cushioned through a number of support, financial support from various organizations. But we still worked with various groups, but we are still also able to present some of those very, very sensitive production. So then, as I said, in 1985, I met somebody in England known as Mr. Dennis Mitchell. Dennis Mitchell is from Cheltenham in Gloucestershire. And at that time, they were exploring a possibility of sister city. And then Cheltenham was just more or less like Kisumu. The buildings were not more than 5 or 4 buildings. Then he came to Kisumu. Then we started what was known as Cheltenham Youth, Kisumu Cheltenham Youth Exchange Program, which enabled a number of young people and a number of different personalities, teachers, business community. So it started as an exchange program for the artists. So they would go there for maybe a month, and some groups from England would be coming. They would be staying with us in our homes. Then it went to teachers exchange programs, and a number of schools also benefited. So that was that. Then in 1986, Ramogi Writers and Drama Society was invited to participate at the UMAD Festival. And we had selected a production known as Muntu. Muntu is a powerful play about Pan-Africanism by Joe de Graft. This is a play that I did in the 80s, and it was very, very popular. I did it for almost 2 years. Very, very popular. I went to various schools, various universities. And so when we were invited by a theater group known as Arts Opportunity Theatre, based in St. Paul's in Bristol. At that time, the government of Moi blocked us from going. That we are being sponsored by the Commonwealth Youth Exchange Program, and which they thought was associated with Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o. So eventually, I went alone, and I had to wait for about 3 or 4 artists or 5 to come to join, about 4 or 5 months. So I started working with the Arts Opportunity Theatre, just in case the Ramogi Writers and Drama Society would not be given the permission to travel. I was already in England, I think by the month of March, and the production We are supposed to start performances around May, and the UMAT festival was taking place in August. So it went on like that. So I started working with the Arts Opportunity Theatre, and that's the time they appointed me as the visiting artistic director to introduce theatre, black theatre, so that we could give opportunity to people to understand what black theatre is all about. And at that time, there was a lot of black riots. There were riots in Bristol, London, Birmingham, black riots. So we realized that this play would be very, very crucial to give people a vision, a mission, to get a better understanding of how Africa came into being. Africa uh, before the arrival of European, Africa during slavery, Africa during slave trade, Africa during colonialism, Africa during neocolonialism, and the way the leaders, some new African leaders, were coming up with Pan-Africanism. So that was the genesis of my being a visiting artistic director. After that, we performed at the UMAT Festival, and I think we are the first group from maybe East Africa to perform at the UMAT Festival. Then I moved to Cheltenham. I was also now a visiting artistic director to a group known as Dr. Foster Theatre Group, based in Stroud. Stroud was a small town in Gloucestershire. Then after Gloucestershire, I moved to London. I worked with two groups. One was Camden United Theatre, and then there was another one. Both of them were in London. Then after that, I was now in Kenya and England. Then in 1989, I was also invited to Wales, South Wales, Cardiff, to be a visiting director to an organization known as Children of Israel, Children of Israel Cultural Center. So, and then again, I was also attached to the Black Video Workshop of Wales. So then again, we would also be having exchange program where we do invite groups. So 1987, we invited a group known as Arts Opportunity Theatre to come and present a play. So in Kisumu, it was titled Freedom City, which was performed in Kisumu at Kisumu Sunset Hotel. So it was a production between Ramogi Writers and Drama Society and also the Arts Opportunity Theatre of Bristol. It was at that time when we were having a performance, and this performance also incorporated some reggae artists from Bristol, and our guest artist was Owino Misiani, whose group had just performed in Netherlands. But unfortunately, one of us passed on while swimming in a swimming pool at the sunset. So we've been having a lot of exchange programs. So basically, I would say that through these forums, we got opportunity to get various partners. That is the British Council. Then after that, I started a cultural center at the British Council Library. So I was given opportunity to develop a concept of how can you transform a library into a cultural center. And we did that. And fortunately, the first culture officer for the British Council was also a friend of mine, Professor Wasamboero, whom we were with in Birmingham. I was an actor. He was a student at Birmingham University, then doing his master's. Yes. So I think it has been a long journey. And in the process, it has given us opportunity to identify what kind of plays that can resonate with people. Because theater deals with the subconscious mind, the brain. theater deals with the heart, the emotions. So the first thing is, how do you select a play that would resonate with the people? So most of our plays are historical plays, plays that touches the plight of Africa and the consequences. So those are the majority of our plays have been about corruption, problems with the society, you know. So that was Ramogi Writers and Drama Society. So while I was in England in 1986, there was the first Pan Caribbean Theatre and Literature Conference, which was taking place at the Commonwealth Institute. So they invited two Africans. Both of us were in England at that time, myself, and there was also the director of Ghana Dance Ensemble. So we had to give in our input. So we were invited to participate. It was a week-long festival at the Commonwealth Institute. So interacting with different players, writers, playwrights, dramatists, musicians from the entire Caribbean, England, it gave us a different vision. So now I came up with a group known as Misango Arts Ensemble. Now to look at, this was more or less like Pan-Africanism movement in terms of how can we tackle different issues affecting the Black people from different parts of the world. So we came up with Misango Arts Ensemble. So while in England again, I was in Stroud. Then Mbongeni Ngema, they were coming up with Market Theatre. That was their first time to come and perform in England. So he had written a play called Waza Albert, which was a play, is a two-man play revolving around the plights of Africa in a racially divided society. So he gave me the play, and I performed it in Kenya in 1987. So we performed it with my colleague Lawrence Openda. Lawrence Openda, we started with him in 1980. We performed with him in England in 1984 in Birmingham, in that play I told you called Shanti. So we've been involved. So from that, so now Misango died. No, Ramogi died. Now we started moving. We started a production now called Misango Arts Ensemble. And with Misango now, we are now more of Pan-Africanist theatre. And we did different productions that were held both locally and internationally.
Thank you very much for that. I did have the opportunity of hearing what you spoke at the Nyanza International Investment Conference and the untapped wealth that is hidden in African arts. So what are your thoughts on funding arts locally as opposed to international funding as we bring it back closer home so that we can talk about Mama Grace Onyango Cultural Center?
Yeah, so basically, you see, theater, in Kenya, the government, so to speak, have not been keen on supporting theater. They would rather support music because music doesn't really touch on them. But theater arts have been very, very critical in terms of, analysis of the society, because theater is a mirror. So those have been the problem. So basically, as I said, Nyanza, it's rich. It's the cradle of arts in Kenya. It's cradle because serious productions emanated from where we're coming from Kisumu. So Kisumu has been associated with critical production. This one, I think, is due to Professor Okot Pabitek. Okot Pabitek was the first director of Uganda Cultural Center and National Theatre. But he had a beef with the president of Uganda, Obote. So his visions, whatever he wanted to do with the Uganda Cultural Center, National Theatre, he could not do it. So when he realized that Obote was after his life, he moved to Kisumu, and he was at Kisumu Social Center, which is now known as Mama Grace Onyango Cultural and Social Center. So it transformed Kisumu to be the cultural center of East and Central Africa. During his stewardship, he was able to bring a great literature stalwarts like Chinua Achebe, Wole Soyinka, David Rubadiri, Professor Ali Mazurui, and a number of personalities. He created what was a stimulating public lectures every Thursdays, and you'd bring in great scholars to come and present papers. Apart from that, he also came up with Kisumu Arts Festival, where he had also people like Professor Onyango, who is the governor. Those were part of that movement. So there was Kisumu Arts Festival, which was a big festival, and he would invite artists from East and Central Africa. So he planted the seed. So as young people, we saw what Okot was doing, and we said, why don't we borrow a leaf from what Okot was doing? So by that time, Okot had moved from Kisumu to Nigeria, I think Ife University. So when Okot died, we did a play to celebrate his contributions to the arts and culture. So the play was titled Okot Pabitek on Trial. This was written by a school teacher at Kisumu Boys High School known as Amfro Juang, who is now Professor Amfro Juang of the University of Nairobi. So we looked at Okot's life, and we looked at the critical issues that he wanted to make people understand, and the challenges that he faced. So this play was called Okot Pabitek, which was done in 1983. I directed it, and then again, it was also the same play that I took to the fourth Festac festival in Arusha City, which actually enabled us to convince the Festac organizing committee to bring the fifth World of Black and African Arts and Culture Festival to Kisumu. It was a concerted effort because we were so much excited about the Lagos Festac Festival. We used to watch the Lagos Festac Festival at the Kisumu Social Center, and we were saying, hey, one day we should be part of Festac. It was supposed to be an annual event, but unfortunately it died along the lines. So when we heard that Festac was being hosted in Zanzibar, it was too late. So then again we heard that it was taking place in Arusha. So we wrote to the Festac headquarters in South Africa, and they said, yes, you come over. And we presented that play, and at the end of the day we were able to convince the team and the viability of Kisumu hosting the event, which eventually it was held. And at that time, the festival was being held in the month of May. That was the African Day. But in Kisumu, because the governor wanted that the festival, or the governor wanted the preparedness so that Kisumu, because Kisumu has been the cultural center of arts and culture in East and Central Africa, courtesy of Okot Pabitek, he wanted Kisumu to be the greatest festival. So it went to the month of September to give room for preparation. And at first we wanted it to take place in a smaller space, Mama Grace Onyango and Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Sports Ground. But the governor in his wisdom said, nah, Festac is big. We need to have bigger space. And it was taken to an international stadium, Jomo Kenyatta Stadium. And it was graced by President Olusegun Obasanjo and Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. So it was a big fete. So, and it rekindled the old glory of Kisumu in terms of arts and culture.
Thank you very much. Now, we have to test the craft and we have to test the mind behind the craft. So, we had the floods pre-Festac Kisumu and all that, but we still saw Festac come to life in the lakeside city of Kisumu. If Kisumu was a character in one of your plays, what role would it play? Because now it goes down in the annals of history. When Festac is mentioned, Kisumu has to be mentioned.
Yeah, so I think, as I said earlier, because when you look at the social centers in Kenya, the British decided to make the biggest social center in Kisumu for Africans and not in Nairobi. Nairobi had smaller spaces like Kaloleni Social Center, Shorumoyo, but Kisumu had a landmark, a big cultural center, which was created and opened its door in 1960 as African Social Hall. Big. It was just like Kenya Cultural Center. Big. So Kisumu, because I think the colonialists also realized that Kisumu had abundant talent in terms of creative expression and sports, particularly football and short races. So there was somebody known as Mr. Manderfield. Mr. Manderfield was a European who was the first director of Kisumu Social Center, and he did a lot of mentorship in terms of harnessing the talent. And I think through that, because it was also opened by the governor of Kenya. So Kisumu, these other social centers, I don't know about them, like Kaloleni, I don't know who opened it, but Kisumu came in 1960, but big. And so I think through Mr. Manderfield, he did a lot and identified talent. And even people like Ndenda, there was these post people. Ndenda from Kisumu became the city manager of City Stadium. So everything revolved around Kisumu in terms of arts, in terms of music. And there was a lot of support by the mayor of Kisumu, Stanley Everett, and Mr. Manderfield. So I think Kisumu had a greater opportunity than other parts. Like in Mombasa, there was a little theater. Those were European spaces. But Kisumu, they created, so Kisumu, there was the British Council for the Europeans, and then there was the African Cultural Center, which eventually became Victoria Social Center. The name changed to Kisumu Social Center. Then 2020, the governor decided to change the name from Kisumu Social Center to Mama Grace Onyango Cultural Social Center. Why Mama Grace? Mama Grace was one of the greatest women politicians in East and Central Africa. Mama Grace Onyango was the first woman mayor in 1965 in East and Central Africa. At the time when she was a mayor, she was also a school teacher at Migosi Primary School. In 1967, Mama Grace Onyango also became the first woman Secretary General of Luo Union, East Africa. Luos then had properties in Kenya, Uganda, and Tanganyika. So it was not Luo Council of Elders. In 69, Mama Grace Onyango also became the first woman elected member of the National Assembly. In 1975, she was also elected the Deputy Speaker. And she was also part of the JM Probe Committee. I think she was the Mwangale Probe Committee. I think she was a secretary. So she played a critical role. She also made Kisumu to be the cleanest town in East Africa. So Kisumu has been associated with creativity, cleanliness, intellectual discourse, which was also complemented by Professor Okot Pabitek. So I think Kisumu, so when Kisumu, then again, Kisumu also hosted the third World of Drama and Literature Idea Conference, which was held here courtesy of Professor John Opio Muma. So Kisumu has had that opportunity of hosting, but the person who planted this master seed was or is Professor Okot Pabitek. Without Okot Pabitek, I don't think Kisumu would have been celebrated in terms of arts and culture. Culture could have died. So when Okot left, arts really died a little bit, but we are able to bring it up through the energies of the young artists known as Ramogi Writers and Drama Society. Then again, in 2006, there was going to be the third. It was going to be the third World AIDS Congress in Toronto, Canada. So I was selected to direct the play that was going to represent Africa, which was staged during opening and closing, known as After a Long Illness, The Ultimate Truth, by Olo Nyamoya. So Olo Nyamoya currently is based in the United States, but it was our playwright, and he wrote for Misango Arts Ensemble, a number of productions that were not just staged. We took some of these productions to Uganda Development Theatre Festivals. We perform at Uganda Cultural Center, National Theatre, not once, many times. We performed at Barara Social Center. We performed at Shimoni Teachers College, that is Uganda. I think then we went to various universities in Kenya. So Misango has really performed. So Misango participated in the opening ceremony and closing ceremony in Toronto, Canada in 2006. And then again, 2007, there was a movement that was started by Kenyans known as Teach a Child in Africa. So the team were based in Oxford City. I was invited, and I did a concept paper which enabled them, to support 50 students who are from poor background and whose parents had also passed on because of HIV/AIDS. And the lady who was the coordinator then was known as Pamela Ohonde. Now she's known as Pamela Steele. So through that, we are able to identify 50 students, and they were students who were identified were coming from the transit where HIV/AIDS had affected people mostly. So the people where we found out was Osenge, that is Imbo, because of the Uganda, the proximity between them and Uganda. Then the other place was Ugunja, where Ugunja is where trucks, trucks ferrying the fuels from Kenya to Congo. They converge in that spot. So then we chose two spaces, but which benefited. So there's some of those students now have qualified. Some are doctors, some are now people who are great because of that kind of support. So I think it has been a long journey.
Indeed, it has been a long journey, and in that journey you have accumulated wisdom that the world so greatly needs today. If you could whisper into the ear of Africa one truth as you give us your rallying call for the Festac Festival in Ghana 2025, if you could whisper one truth, what truth would that be?
I would say that Festac is giving African transformative change and would appeal to presidents of Africa to support Festac, just like it started. It was started by the presidents of Africa, the Pan-Africanist presidents, who valued art, who realized art could play a critical role in terms of change. And you could realize that in those days, music, African music, people like Maria Makeba, they would sing revolutionary songs, songs that would really resonate with people, songs that would change. And Ghana being the home of Kwame Nkrumah, and the Festac is also taking place at the time when the great Pan-Africanist was born. I think, and I appeal to the governor of Kisumu to support Misango Arts Ensemble, who have already been selected to participate. And Misango Arts Ensemble is taking a team of 15 people. And we would also like Professor Austin Bukenya to join us. Professor Bukenya also gave a paper presentation during the 5th World Festival of Arts. So what I'm trying to say is that African presidents should come out strongly to support arts and culture. Culture plays a critical role in the society. They should not really fight the artist. They should support art, give them funding, create space. That is why within Mama Grace, we have created space for artists. And we have different arts. We have School of Music. We have School of Visual Arts. We have School of Performing Arts. We have School of Modeling. So all this, but they lack financial support. So we want to appeal to different people in Kisumu, Kenya, Africa, and the world to come and support Festac. Festac is the biggest Pan-Africanist festival that brings in Africa and African diaspora together for 1 week to celebrate their diversity. So Africans leadership, please come and support the Festac in Ghana. Ghana is also the epitome of arts and culture. So I believe strongly that with the support, Misango Arts Ensemble is also currently working on a production titled Angola Venezolanos Voyage. It's a play that is a historical play, historical journey of Africa before the Europeans. Africa during the Europeans, the present Africa, and the future of Africa. So I believe strongly that Festac is going to provide the platform for transformative change. And I believe strongly, and lastly, I want to appeal to Governor of Kisumu County, Professor Onyango, who is himself an artist and who actually sponsored us to participate in Arusha Festival in 2023. Without our participation and without the participation of Misango Arts Ensemble, Festac Africa Festival would not have featured in Kisumu. So we want to thank the governor for his vision. And we also want to thank Misango Arts Ensemble for having played a critical role to enable Festac to come to Kisumu. And as an ambassador for Festac, I'm happy that I was given this title in the office of the governor, and the certificate was presented in the office of the governor, and the governor presented the certificate to me. So as the Festac Africa Festival Ambassador, I want to invite various art groups from different regions of Kenya to come and participate, so that the presence of Kenya is great. Just like the presence of Kenya was great in 1977. There was a University of Nairobi presenting the Trials of Dedan Kimathi, and there was also the Petrol in the City, two powerful productions from Kenya. So I believe it should not be just Misango performing at the 6th World of Black and African Festival of Arts and Culture in Ghana. I want to appeal to various theater groups, music groups, live music, visual artists, filmmakers from Kenya to participate, so that we have also the Kenya village, so to speak, so that Kenyans have a village where we're able to showcase the heritage of Kenya to the world. So the President of Kenya, the Minister of Culture, the National Minister of Culture, kindly please come out and support artists from Kenya to participate in the Festac Africa Festival in Accra. And recently on Saturday, Professor Bukenya had also written a nostalgic article about his participation in Festac in 1977, and is longing to go to West Africa. It was in Ghana, 1994. So this festival creates opportunity for exchange of idea. It's a platform to showcase the talent from different parts of Africa.
There you have it, our viewers. The wise, the humble, Mr. Obat, a legend in the arts field, giving it as it is. We keep reminding you.
2025.
For Festac Festival 2025.
Africans are ready. Welcome to
Africa Show.
Africans are ready. Welcome to Festac. Africans are ready. Welcome to Ghana. Africans are ready. Welcome to Festac. Oh, Mama Africa. Festac Africa. Oh, 2025. Festac Africa.
From the 21st to the 27th of September 2025, the world will gather under one sky celebrating what unites us. Our culture, our heritage, our pride. Welcome to Festac Africa Festival 2025, a 7-day explosion of colors, rhythm, fashion, food and unity right at the Independence Square. Featuring daily cultural performances, movie screenings, 6 days of exhibition, 3 days of transformational conferences, Ghana versus Nigerian Jollof Rice Showdown, Kids Fun Fair, Wellness, Sports and Tree Planting, Teaching and Innovation, and the Pan-African Trade Market where every country is invited. Festac Africa Festival is not just an event. It's a festival of impacting inclusion and changing lives. Powered by Ghana Tourism Authority. This is your moment to stand tall, collect globally, and showcase the spirit of Africa. Register today at www.festacafrica.org. Africa is ready. Ghana is ready. Accra is ready. Chale, are you ready?